a landscaping company that's part of the project. So they've done the photogenic spot.
We just want to prove that we were here.
It's also really, with the gray sky, and these plants they've all sprung up like 6 weeks ago. They were just like, come back every year, we're not going to replant them. Audubon, there's a lot of evaluation and data collection up here, so they're coming up to see what kind of insects are around. We also have some different sensors. One is a sensor in the soil to measure temperatures, and then we set up this weather station. Measure things like rainfall and temperature and all that. And then there's also some pretty cool stuff. This is a bat microphone, to check for bats. So people from the Audubon Society are doing this.
See, this is the only green patch.
Yes,
for miles.
For a while. So that's a good question. I'm not sure. I think naturally a lot of those microorganisms will find their way here.
Okay.
But no, I don't think there was any animals added.
Do you want bats or you do not want bats?
We do want bats.
Okay.
Yeah. Bats around the creek before, but I haven't checked with the people that are monitoring for bats. A lot of this was all really recently set up. So I think over the years, it's pretty interesting.
And I think with a lot of that, it's like, is this one thing gonna increase the population of bats? Unlikely, but it's sort of like a seed project where you might 20 years from now, you might look around and there's 100 green roofs or something. Right. So it seems like part of the idea is to sort of show an example that it's possible and sort of how much you can do with a small space in the hopes that it sort of changes the tide.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great thing. We talk about green roofs a lot because they're a great way to absorb rainfall. But to really see what it looks like, if you're a building owner and you had the money, and also the city they give out grants to build things often. And we also, again, this mix between industrial areas and having, just because the place is industrial and it's loud and it's noisy during work hours and has big trucks doesn't mean it can't also, have a benefit to the environment here. It doesn't have to be all concrete. So we feel like there's a lot of potential for integrating these two components.
Do you have a figure for the total cost of this installation?
It's around $1 million, but some of that, it gets a little tricky, some of that money paid in by the just go up and throw a roof on or dirt on your roof and start planting plants. You really got to have an engineer come in, structural analysis. There's a number of membranes here that are here to protect the roof. But that's the other thing too is when you have a green roof installed, here's a little bee.
Hey, buddy.
And so we're gonna leave from here and we're gonna go check out another, on a smaller scale, but an interesting project that's trying to bring some environmental benefit back to the area. So we'll just, if anybody wants the elevator, just take it to the bottom.
Could we take a few minutes to also use the bathroom before we venture
so
out?
there's a bathroom straight downstairs.
Yeah.
Let's just have everybody leave at the same time. I don't want to.
Yes, I understand. You want to use the bathroom all the way to the bottom is what you're trying to say. He said, there's another set of bathrooms. He says he wants everyone to use it at the same time.
Let's not walk around too much.
I'm just gonna run up and get my paddle that I left up there.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just some lines about that. It's like 4 people.
I have a few life jackets as well.
Okay, I have 4.
Okay. Yeah, I think like there's like a maximum anyways.
Right,
yeah,
of like 6 people or 5 people. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can just like, I don't know, maybe we'll
I don't
just do
also
something.
know if everybody wants to go on this.
That's true, yeah. But it's kind of nice just to stand next to it. And
Yes.
look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we can sort of like talk about it, and then like people that want to can go out there.
Yeah.
My
No,
life preservers are sort of like, I took them out of the closet today, and I was like, they're a little gross too. So I don't know if people are really gonna want to like, get really
Put
in
them
there.
on. Yeah.
I was
Well,
like
they've been
washing,
drying out,
I was
right?
like washing mold off
This one's
of them.
cool. This gray one.
Oh yeah, I know. My I just got that from my aunt. I love it.
That's cool. Yeah.
I know. It's historic.
I started wearing. Patterson has one. It's funny. Patterson and his girlfriend Amy are the only ones who have one with the inflatable.
Oh yeah.
And then there was we had this photographer come out with us a couple times, and he bought one and like left it at the club, so I started wearing it.
Oh nice.
It's for like
It's
being
so easy,
out
yeah.
for like in the because I'm out like in the middle of the day in the summer,
Right.
and it just gets
Right.
like really hot. So
Yeah, they're really nice.
it's nice to wear.
I had one of those one time, like kind of stuffed in the front of
They're
the boat.
pricey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sensed water and it like inflated
no.
and like got itself stuck and gave it to me. But yeah, they're really nice.
Yeah. So I started wearing that when it's super hot outside.
When I was young, Maria and I said, get somebody to hey,
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No worries.
But then we can figure out like let's email and
Okay.
talk about it. Like you can invoice, maybe you can invoice me, you can invoice Lon, or we could.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad this worked out. Yeah, we've just like kind of started doing tours here, so there's still a couple people up there.
Yeah. I think there's like 3.
so you have to figure out, I can use people off what are you compromising? So you get to that point when you're teaching and you're like, I can't teach this part to you because of what it means to make great art, because you have to choose, you have to live a little, know what it means to make money, and then make a decision of whether you're gonna make bad art or like have a lunch. You usually make better.
It's only gotten like slightly more elaborate.
The cheapest amount of food is tortilla and soybeans and a little salsa.
And sometimes you don't even really need to like put it on, like you just heat the tortilla on the open flame on the stove.
Oh yeah. That's the gourmet version.
Yeah, don't even use it. Yeah, don't even use a dish.
Yeah.
It's like it's like hobo lunch or something. There should be. Like the starving artist cookbook or something. All right, so I want to alert you guys to this one thing real quick. Let me just set this up here as
That
a
already has a selfie stick.
Okay, I have a but actually I was using a selfie paddle long before there was such a thing as a selfie stick. So technology just like caught up with me basically. So this is just gonna like rest right here for a second. Oh yeah. Right now I'm in a show at 3DL in Manhattan called Works on Water, and it's a triennial, the inaugural triennial of groups of people, performance artists that do work about the water. So if you will agree, and Willis too, you're all in my project right now because we're live streaming to the gallery. So my artwork in the gallery is a monitor where I'm live streaming just, trips out in the boat, trips along the shore, and I'll be doing it like 3 or 4 times throughout the exhibition. And tonight is the opening. So right now is the press preview of this show. So you guys are all. If anybody objects to that, we can sort of change the situation. Yeah, or just sort of walk.
Or be outside the frame. Actually, is there anybody that's against it? It's totally fine if you want.
No pressure.
And the quality of the videos.
So what? They're not gonna capture like our fashion choices?
The fashion choices is the only thing. Especially you, Lauren. Yours are going to stand out.
So we now have the full group.
Yeah, so we now have the full group, and we can.
Sweet. All right. So, okay, so we're gonna walk down this block here, and I just want everybody. We're gonna make sure we stay on the sidewalk. There's a lot of heavy truck traffic, and then we're gonna have to cross in front of that recycling facility. So just please be aware, maybe not like walking and texting and stuff like that, and it'll be fine.
Or live streaming.
Or live streaming will be okay as long as you're not watching it. So just keep an eye out. It is a busy area, and we're gonna check out a cool project.
No. Oh yeah, will you take the paddle?
Designer yourself.
Yeah. Yellow?
Yeah.
Power line? Probably because there's a lot of tall trucks coming through. Yeah.
That stew is not so bad.
Huh?
It's not as bad as I imagined. it
The
to be.
what? The walk or the
The water.
The water. It's pretty bad right now.
You shouldn't call it that.
So, can everybody hear me? So, okay, so where we are now, this is a side inlet of Newtown Creek. The creek itself. It's actually pretty cool. And hang out here. So there's a couple things to talk about here. One is, some of the more of the stuff that's around us. This is an interesting facility here. This is a former Marine transfer station that closed down about 15 years ago. And so there's a number of these throughout the city, and they're actually reactivating some of them. So this is a place where garbage trucks would drive up the ground, and they would dump their trash onto a barge that sits underneath it, underneath the structure. And the barge, in this case, these would go out to Staten Island when the Fresh Coast landfill was still city. So this area, although it's kind of loud and dirty now, is relatively pristine to what used to be happening here from 1960 up until 17 years ago. So burning trash, trucks coming in, dumping trash, all that sort of stuff. Since then, this has kind of been a little bit of an empty area, and the main use of this area now is for parking for the Laco. So one of the things is this shoreline. Our organization's been kind of interested in this area for a while. Because this shoreline, this area is all owned by the city. The shoreline is dilapidated. It's too shallow to bring boats back here, so it's been kind of left to its own devices. So we feel like this is a really good opportunity to pursue restoration along some of the edges of Newtown Creek. That's one of the things that when we talked about what this area used to be like in areas of marsh and grasses around it, and how we got this straight wall, what we call bulkheads, that has a big impact on a lot of things, and one of it is the ecology. We used to have all these intertidal areas where the tide would come in, and you'd have fish would breed there, and crabs would hang out, and the birds would eat. And when you've turned an area from a marsh into a canal with all these straight walls, there's nowhere for those birds to eat, there's no way for those animals to grow, to reproduce there. So if we could long term take the shoreline and make it more of a naturalized soft edge, that would provide a great benefit to this area. So we're working on that whole planning report about here. There's going to be a public park just back where we walked on that side of the treatment plant. So there's actually going to be, whereas now this is a very kind of empty, abandoned area, in a few years this will be a public access point. And the park here is going to connect to the nature walk, which I think you guys are going to go to after this. So this will be kind of a really, more of a destination in years to come. The other project that we are doing here is the living dock, which we came to see. So we'll provide some habitat for these animals that are here. Historically, Newtown Creek has been very polluted, but as, like New York Harbor beginning in the 1970s, a lot of our waterways are becoming much more cleaner. And with that cleanup, we're getting more of the natural wildlife coming back. So you can hear the geese. There was a lot of swallows flying around here earlier. And there's a lot of animals in the water itself. There's fish, and there's crab, and there's shrimp, and there's even oysters, and there's mussels. And all these things are coming back to Newtown Creek. Despite it looking like this, it is an ecosystem, and there's life and stuff hanging out inside there. So we'll do that. And the other thing is to actually provide some space, not just for those small animals, those fish to hang out in, because again, we talked about how this is like a bathtub, and those fish have no place to hide. But we also have some of these native, the grasses, the salt marsh grasses that are growing inside the dock as well. And aside from looking nice, they also help clean the water as well. So we're not going to get rid of the Superfund designation or fix our problem overnight, but they're a small step forward in larger restorations. I'll point out real quick, on the Queen side, you see the barges moving there. So that's the recycling facility, Sims. They have all this metal, they do curbside plastic, and it's a very active waterway, as you can see. So they bring in empty barges, they take out the ones that have been filled up, We'll take them to other sorting facilities. Eventually, a lot of the metal will be shipped overseas. Some of the plastic will be recycled here. So a very active waterway. And our organization is interested in both of these aspects. So we're interested in environmental issues, cleaning up the water, bringing back the ecology, but we're also interested in preserving a lot of this maritime activity. Because what that boat is doing is taking dozens of trucks off the street. And that leads to reduced emissions, better air quality, better traffic to the surrounding neighborhoods. So we're very much a proponent of moving stuff by water and this industrial landscape. So, any questions? Yeah. Yeah. Our drinking water and our wastewater, they actually have boats that you may see that they're on the other side of us, which is kind of ironic. They literally dock them there, and they have these boats they call skimmer boats that go around the harbor to pick up trash. I personally don't think they do as good of a job as they could be doing, and we've had a lot of conversations about this because trash is becoming a bigger and bigger problem here. It's great that water quality is improving and that, you know, 20 years of the Superfund cleanup, we're going to get rid of a lot of the toxins. But these plastics, you know, there's not really
digested by the wildlife.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen birds tangled in them and stuff like that, and it's also just incredibly unpleasant to, you know, to look at. So, and you'll see it. It's likely that part of our dock has, you know, plastics floating around in it. So it's a real burden.
Are there booms on the creek? There's like a boom further up that collects some of that, though, right?
Yeah. So there's a couple spots where they have these booms in place near large sewer outfalls. It's not just sewage; it's everything that's going down the toilet and the drains. They have like plastic bottles, plastic bags. So they have these booms in place to collect some of that, but it obviously does not capture all of it.
You mentioned that that's been shut down. Is there any? What's going to happen with that?
There's no plans as of yet to do anything with it. They use part of it for storage. They store some trucks here. They store garbage cans and stuff inside. But yes, there's the potential to make that more useful to the industry or to the community or to the environment.
It would make such a cool park. Like if you took the roof off of it, and then you have this big, because that whole building is hollow, and the water comes up inside that building.
Yeah.
So it would be such a cool like structure to have like a little performance amphitheater or something. I always thought the one in on near the Whitney on the Hudson, I was like when I would paddle around there last summer, I was like, oh my god, this would be the coolest park. And then like I looked there like a week later, and it was like completely ripped out.
Gone. Yeah. So I personally think they'll probably remove this one as well. It's already kind of falling apart, but there's been a number of the ones around the city that they've decided not to reactivate, like the one on that section of the Hudson. There's one in the Bronx they decided not to reactivate, and this one as well. Those other two have already been removed, so we'll see. But yeah.
Can I ask about changes over the last years in terms of wealth and gentrification? Has there been any, you know, because you mentioned the Whitney side near the Hudson on the west side of Manhattan, obviously that used to look a little bit like this. It's like a big park where people come all the time, really popular area. It's not completely out of our imagination, but I'm wondering, you know, because this does seem to be this like isolated place that you don't see.
Right.
Yeah, so I think one of the aspects of that conversation is the zoning. The creek is, aside from the very mouth where they're bringing in more residential development, the creek, all the shorelines and up for a few blocks is all zoned for heavy manufacturing and industrial uses. And there's a lot of interest in preserving that. So whereas there was more interest in changing the zoning in the meatpacking district to make for commercial activity and residential and all that, there's a lot of interest even from our, you know, like I said, we're environmentalists in our group, but we're also strong advocates of maintaining this industrial core. So I think that will have, hopefully that will have some impact on, mitigating change that would be too far beyond what our organizations and other people want to see. these companies that are here, they're employing thousands and thousands of people. And, as unpleasant as so many things are in terms of like noise or air pollution, it is like we have to have these spaces in the city where we can handle our own waste, where we can, have these hard manufacturing jobs. So I think it's an interesting play of like how that sort of stuff comes about. And we feel that there's opportunity to have nice park green space mixed in with industrial areas, and we hope that this is a good model for it. The Nature Walk is really a good example of that. And yeah, I don't think this will ever be the High Line with like thousands of tourists coming here.
And that's a good thing, actually, because you got to think about, like, just so you're sensitive to what it means for the Newtown Creek Alliance to be here, that when we take a look at the history of New York City water, when you go from sort of like an industrial area straight into condominiums, that was called the necklace of the city, meaning like, why is it that the ultra rich are the only ones that can enjoy the waterways and have views to it? So should the rich always like own that part of the city? And so when you have a kind of intersection like this with the Newtown Creek Alliance, it means a great deal, right? So when are you going to be able to, we talk about accessibility to something like culture.
Dan brings up an interesting point about the role of the artist, because the Newtown Creek's one of the first things on your mission statement is to reveal. Reveal that it's even here. We walked, a mile from the subway. I mean, did anybody even know that we were near a waterway, like when you got out of the subway? And so I think and George Tracus, Willis Elkins, I try to do the same thing. Just like one of the main things is just look at what's here, because otherwise the city will develop it, and it might change hands from manufacturing to expensive condominiums without the community even knowing that they had a possibility of changing that. And I think what's cool about the Newtown Creek Alliance is to have that be like a fruitful and generative sort of interplay.
Yeah. Let me just point one more thing about what it means, because I feel like the reason why this is part of our trip, and also talking about Marie's practices, we know that part of spatial politics means what it means to take a look at nature as if it's not an environment at all, but a landscape. The term landscape indicates those four corners of picture plane, right? Meaning that you will never enter into that space. So it means a great deal for us as a group to experience nature as an environment, as an ecology, as it's being represented in terms of cycles and stuff, but to be in it, not to take a look at it from the boardwalk and take a look at it as if it's just meant to be a visual experience.
Yeah.
So let's put our body into it.
Yeah, let's go in.
So we'll just watch your step when you go in here.
Oh my God, it's so awesome. So what has the city been saying about the idea of this part right here being part of the park?
Well, it's unlikely to become part of it.
It's a great day for photographs.
Become part of it.
We should put the life preservers on stuff right
The colors are right
That's yours.
How many people at a time, Marie?
I have 4 life preservers.
Yeah, so how about, everybody, let's just have people come around so they can see it, and then anybody who wants to go onto it, I don't want to force people onto it, and it's, it's a little bit of a tricky situation. So if everybody can just come.
Who wants to go in? Right, put it in your body in there.
Sec. Give me 1 sec here.
We can go down there and hang out by the edge too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was saying. So 1 second.
So if you want to go on, put up the life preserver. Who else wants to go on? Who else wants to go in?
This is what Marie calls character building experiences. It's better if we're close to death, Bob.
So yeah, please just leave your bags here. So if there's other people who want to look at it, you don't have to necessarily come onto the dock, but if people want to check out.
Do you want me to hold your hand, Josie, so you don't miss it? You can make it. It's not a big deal. You don't have to wear shoes, but you don't have to. I can see it from here.
So let me do this before people come
The
on.
little thing. Thank you. Got it. Do you need help?
Oh, because just the whole thing must lower down.
Yeah.
What do you use as flotation?
So the dock, it's a great question. So the dock is all built, not all, but we're trying to incorporate as many recycled materials as possible into the dock. The idea that it's here for environmental benefit, should have as small as a footprint as possible. And so what we have is, so the decking on top, as well as a lot of the support beams, are made from recycled wood from old water towers. We have to build it green. The flotation are 35-gallon blue barrels that were former food containers. And of course, these middle units are all milk crates that are found on the street. So we're going to have, whenever you're building stuff, especially in the marine environment, you can get really quickly into using nasty chemicals or unsustainable products. So I felt like we did a fairly good job.
It looks like even your gloves are recycled.
Yeah.
They've just been out here for a while.
So you got two right here.
I do have to
Yeah, that was good. I was like, ow, Willis, don't do it.
So I'll show you real quick a little demonstration. So each one of these crates has a different little habitat in it. And some of them are just in scratch. I think the keys doing this. Some of these are getting like hacked by an animal. But
Do you think it's a raccoon?
it could be that. I've seen paw prints in this one before. So, anyway, so some of these have old oyster shells, old clam shells, different places for animals to hide in, and also for different animals to grow on. So I'm going to pull one of these up, and then if there's any fish in there, they're going to fall out into the tree.
Oh, there's fish in there?
Hopefully.
You think so?
You ready for this? This is the big one.
Oh my god!
So I'll pull this up, and we'll see.
Wow, there's fish in there! Wow, look at him go!
Shrimps.
Are those tadpoles?
What's there?
Fish! Wow! Oh my god, I had no idea!
So, you can also look and see if there's any more in here. There's a couple more fish still in here.
And wait, what is that material? What's that root thing?
So this is all just rope, and it actually
Whoa.
kind of like stimulates what was naturally here, like eelgrass. The grass is underwater for these fish to hide within. And there's some old oyster shells as well. So there's a couple, there's another guy.
Wow.
There's another little fish here.
Got any oysters?
So these are just oyster shells. There
Uh-huh.
doesn't seem to be anything growing on these, but we'll look at some of the other ones.
Look at how many!
So we have these, the shrimp. These are just mostly grass shrimp. And then the small fish are called killifish, which are very common in waters like this. They're pretty many little smaller shrimps, essentially,
Yeah.
swimming around.
Wow, that shrimp's trying to jump out.
I can't believe
Oh my
that.
god!
We essentially, like the green group, we just planted stuff and we let the animals move in. So we didn't like bring fish here and put them into the cages. They just found it. So
That is amazing.
it's this is the only residential evaluate which cages are working well and which ones can be redesigned first. Yeah.
Where's the shrimp? I gotta see that.
They're going in there.
Wow. He's beautiful.
Oh my god, look at you, little guy. That's a little guy.
This one, I think this one's pregnant with a bunch of eggs in the bottom. You see the sack of.
Is that the biggest that they'll grow?
Does someone else
Yeah,
want
that's about.
Little
And then
shrimp
you see some of the-
caviar.
You guys see some of these smaller ones?
Wow.
These are like little amphipods.
Hi, buddy.
Hi, buddy.
fish are a lot more active than the shrimp are.
The shrimp are like, we know we're caught. It's gonna like mellow out a little bit.
Like white ball, oyster shells are out.
The raccoon's like, perfect, thank you.
There's dead mussels on the.
I did. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, this is like the most like this, so we don't advertise it as like publicly accessible. I think I need to redesign. We put up like a little bit of a trash card.
How does it even, I don't even understand how it's getting in. It just comes
The water. Yeah, well, it is actually, when we're not standing on it, there's about an inch and a half of freeboard.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's
Like a little film all the way around.
Yeah.
A little skirt or something.
yeah, but like a solid, I think you can solid
I had no idea that you could like lift up and.
I've seen a couple of egrets out here before.
Really?
Yeah. And that's what one that I had was like, oh, if we build this, we're just like making like feeding grounds for animals.
Maybe there's some. You should see in some like farmer's almanac if there's a smart little like raccoon deterrent.
Yeah.
Like silvery, like.
Yeah, there's stuff like that for the geese. Right? I thought about putting like a coyote I tried to replant these.
Come out here.
They're just one panel. It seemed like it wasn't good. Down here.
Yeah, he made it very clear that he works for the city and having something to think about. Oh, the
Do you manage it? You just like.
We cleaned this. Yeah, we cleaned this up like last summer.
What do you take after?
or if two people, one person goes out outside, the other You're wearing it?
Yeah. Okay.
Did you just start making boats through like trial and error, or did you like study with
I
someone?
started through trial and error at the one over school where they, build their own timber, like all hand tools, like real.
Oh, where was that?
It was at in Sausalito at the Arquez school.
Cool.
But the main thing, if you were going to build boats that way, you need like a really good, pretty expensive shop.
Yeah.
And the stuff that I do now is all stuff with fiberglass. But the thing that I learned there is how to loft, which is the way that you design that kind of concept, like the way that you connect out. And so that's what
Where is your studio now?
but one day, it's like one of the things that we kind of but
Are there a lot of sculptors that are over in that area?
oh yeah, what's with this one? It's like the cheap.
Like
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Alex.
sure.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for showing us the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the drinks and rock and roll. Do you think we can dismantle?
Let's see what time we get over there.
Yeah. So there's some shoes that under everyone in the class is white. They look pretty clean. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why he has to make art in Brooklyn. You think he's out of a job? Like, he's struggling metal, like, randomly?
Did they ask? I think when they originally asked Vito to do something with the school treatment plan, it was a retaining wall. It was like a whole wall all the way around.
Yeah.
But then like the funding came or something, and just kind of made it like that. But I think originally it was supposed to be like a wrap wall.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's amazing the artists that are working for public sites. You would be surprised how famous they are, actually.
Yeah.
People undermine the percent for the art program, but you get Mel Chin, Vito Conchi, big names. So, Melissa Brown, Purely by Ass.
We'll have a train station soon. Everywhere.
One of, like, Brinkman, what's the, it's like 168? Yeah. Borinquen Place, Spanish Harlem.
In fact, if the people that are splitting off wanted to split off out of this intersection, they'd be saving themselves like half hour.
But whatever
saving yourself a
follow
little
us
while.
further, they're going to be a half an hour, like minutes away.
So we going now?
Yes. I
Okay.
want to continue. You can risk it, you know, but boat people, if you go further with us, it'll be late and then it'll take you so much longer to get out. But for the rest of you guys, let's power through. I know you're tired, but this is, you know, an opportunity to get out of the dominant norm, you know, so let's keep on going. And the rest of you guys, have a great I believe it's 9 o'clock. I will send you a group text message confirming the time. It's 9 o'clock, but no lecture, only attendance, be on time. Thanks to Melissa Brown. All right, no problem. Have a good time. All right, let's keep going. That's much money in there. Honestly.
I don't think it's right around because the Deer Beacon isn't right on the walk.
Yeah, it's there's big money.
And do you, I mean, SAIC is pretty big. Do you guys know each other all pretty well before the trip?
I knew one girl from there.
So not just the day out.
I haven't moved. My mom did. It was when I had it. When I tried to like pick up living for the shoulder.
Bushwick or South Promise, you go in and find 4 people and go in on the space so you get bigger space and almost like split it up. Because that way you're splitting it equally by
Is South Bronx the place to have a studio? South Bronx is because I'm actually trying to. In between school and
there's a lot of good moving spaces right around Columbia that are Parliament.
it is getting
And when they first built it, I thought it was like a joke. I was like, how could it be? How could you have a nature park? But it actually is really
I always thought that I was like a lot of the artists that I know that have graduated were that shop and stuff talk about how historical ones have their, especially for like clothes, needing that much space, like paying it, like paying that much money at home. you have a very small view, but once you go into that space, you're going to know how.
Maybe cities there's not as much of it. A really beautiful thing, going out on the water. He had a canoe, and I think he still does, like have a canoe on the waterfront, you know, like New York City kind of permeable landscape. Went up, I could, but then the more that I came to the nature walk, I was like, whoa, this is actually really,
Yeah.
and so it was the artwork that kind of, you know, made me start thinking about him, and then when he built that, he would collect lighters, real like, and also was this really like aesthetic, beautiful thing. But I think that the living dock is his, you know, one of his like a project that is sort of like, I don't know, touches on that.
I mean, as nature walks go, this is a bit about the desire for nature.
Right.
Maybe
right.
more than.
But at the same time, it's one of the only places on the creek that you can put a boat in the water. And so in that way, I think the nature for George Traucus is like, that's, you know, like it's an invitation to sort of go out into it.
And also maybe this is how nature looks like right now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There's like a really gross thing right here. It's just like a piece of sludge. Look at that thing.
It's so brown.
It's so gross.
Oh!
That's like what the bottom of the Newtown Creek is made out of. Oh, look at it!
Oh my god.
It's so gross.
I'm very tempted and
To
like,
touch it.
yeah, but at the same time I don't.
Oh, I wonder why its little bed is like so. So there's the transfer station we were looking at.
Which one you built this would have been.
And like,
It's moving because on the one hand, this is a tragedy. I mean,
yeah,
but they're regenerating something. If they're
Right.
regenerating anything at all, is a miracle.
right.
Madness.
Right.
The revelation of just all of
Right.
that material accumulation.
Bridge and the Kosciuszko Bridge. There's nowhere else that you can even see this. But he made this long thing that's sort of like, you know, for people to really, I don't know, check it out. And that's, I think, like part of the importance of it.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I've seen, in coming here for years, I've maybe seen like 4 or 5 people here. But I know that people know where it is and just fall or have a picnic, you know, like it's not, it's sort of like, yeah.
Like more like city inspiration.
Right.
It's also stunning in the sense of
Oh wait, I'm gonna go. I left my laptop. I mean, I think that's what I love about being out on the water too. Is like you think about New York and there's just this constant like, you know, yeah. Oh yeah. Are those also boys?
They're boys, yeah. Dia, when it was in Chelsea, commissioned. They're smaller, they're skinnier stones, and they each have a tree.
they come with tree.
Yeah.
One stone, one tree.
Yeah, he planted a tree and had these rocks. Especially considering the nature in so many other places. There's a remarkable book that I'm sure you've read called The World Without Us. Which is a bunch of speculative scenarios in which I guess different cities, different places, does all of the work to explain how, if humans just disappeared, how urban landscapes would return to nature, how the buildings, no matter how durable and strong they are, the wind, the rain, like they would just slowly disintegrate them.
Word without us, the world
Without us.
I know one of the relations here. Yeah. This is a sick mentality. Yeah, it really is. And it's going to continue as with like 45 minutes you'll be able to do in like.
In this concept, it follows very, very methodically what would happen to various cities and urban sites if humans disappeared. So like how the natural world might return even to places we think.
And all these things. So she just like. It's 5:30. Oh, yeah. What kind of feeling of being by the water? We were talking about it a little bit on the walk over. How rare it is to be in a space in New York City. I mean, remember, we're still in that. This walk over was with like trucks going by and all that stuff, and how like you just sort of now we're on the other side of this building and there's like.
Yeah, and also I know you guys are tired and stuff, and it's totally natural to take a break and take a look at your iPhone, but I want you to think about all that noise and the mess, and it's also really interesting that the normal artist engagement is here's the art itself. What are you guys thinking?
Those eggs right there. Making their way back out into the East River.
Yeah. So let's hear some responses, thoughts, and reactions, and
what I'm thinking about, like, recognizing that time is a very essential part of
very bizarre way you might say, like, this has nothing to do with what I'm interested in. But let's say I know that there's some animation students, but it would be kind of interesting that you need to have experiences like this to see the back end of the city, to actually be able to, when it's time to draw a picture of New York City, you don't do a picture of the Chrysler building, but
I want to touch on what you said about time. I think it's useless. Something doesn't have a purpose. That this is a fundamental part of what art does. So the difference between art and architecture or design is that art it's interesting to add to that this aspect of what this space is doing, where there's really this interest in sustainability.
But maybe I can ask a very direct question. If Trockus created this nature work here and it's an artwork, let me ask you this. Why is it here? Why did he take us here?
I think he wants us to see the consequences of whatever is happening in the transit or that covers everything. And it's just like glass windows. You don't know what's going on inside, and you just consume it all the time. And I feel like yes, it's fascinating for the first few weeks, but I just wonder but then what happens after? What happens if I just throw this thing away, flush this thing away, and just people take it, trucks go, and I don't get to see it. So I think today was really impressive to me to just see this part of the city that's even so close to where we were, but how drastically different it is, and over time how it has accumulated this large amount of mess, and people are really trying to wrestle with it, somehow find a way out of it. I think that's really a lot of people forget about this part.
Yeah. And on that note, it's kind of interesting to compare Willis's living dog with Trockus's nature walk, and how here, Trockus did this with. I mean, what do you think his budget was? I mean, this is probably like $100,000. I mean, this is like a huge budget to make this.
I think this is probably $600,000 at the very
It's
least.
gotta be, right? And it was probably part of the sewage treatment plant gave the money. They might have had to give it.
Yeah, and maybe the city put in some